It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. I'm so excited because we're going to be welcoming back one of our divas here that is now coming onto our program on a monthly basis. She is absolutely fantastic. She is inspiring, and she always leaves us all with tips and tools to help us. And I'm excited because I just love chatting with her. If this is your very first time tuning into the Divas That Care, a huge welcome. We're going to be going into our 12th season here soon, and I'm really excited about that. We are listened to in over 30 countries around the world, and it's because of all of you guys. We are so grateful for all of you that are always tuning in and sharing our programs and really supporting our guests on our program. So thank you all so much. As I said, we're having a returning guest come onto our program. Her name is Rhonda. Rhonda, I am so excited to be having you back on the program, and it is going to be exciting for what we chat about today.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy New Year. I'm excited to be back. Last time we chatted in December, we had this invigorating conversation about surviving Christmas and New Year's resolutions, and I'm excited to build off of that today with you.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm excited here. So Rhonda, would you mind, sharing a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into today?
Absolutely. So I am a nutrition and lifestyle coach as well as personal trainer, and I really help women to, take charge of their health again and put themselves back on the top of the priority list. Us women, we are really great at taking care of everyone else and everything else and, saying, no, I can wait when it comes to, us sort of taking really good care of ourselves. So I really help women to strategize, to integrate healthy habits into their life that really takes into account their own personal lifestyle, because we're all very different. So, eating healthy and, working out and getting enough sleep are sort of the fundamentals, but it's how do we fit that into our own personal lives when we have careers and we have maybe kids at home and we have, community obligations and social things and all the good stuff that can get in the way of us executing those healthy habits. And we really work on the inner work too. What's going on inside? What's the mindset saying? What are you saying to yourself mentally about your health and the priority that it takes in your life? So we cover the full gamut, but I'm super excited. I have amazing clients. I do all of my work virtually, so I can see anyone, anywhere across the world, and really to help them put their own health and their wellness, and then having them feel really great about their bodies.
I love it. And today, which I'm really excited about, we're going to be talking about a non-New Year's resolution, because you're just like I am. We don't really like the idea of having New Year's resolutions because we should be really doing this throughout the year, and there's always so much stigma involved with it. So why are we going to be talking about that today?
So when we last chatted back in December, right, like I mentioned earlier, we were talking about, okay, how do we sort of get through Christmas and still sort of maintain our healthy habits? And then we really sort of got into that whole idea of New Year's resolutions, and you're right. We both were on the same page, which was awesome, about the fact that we don't need to have these, big, profound resolutions for a new year that we are really unlikely to stick with. And now that we've, sort of made our way into the new year, we are, a few weeks into January, you might have found yourself where if you sort of had set these resolutions for yourself, you might find that they're already starting to slip. And I really want to just, chat today about maybe being a little bit more realistic about what we can actually do when it comes to our self-care that don't have to be tied to these, strict resolutions that we've made for ourselves, because when they don't, sort of pan out for us, then we feel like we're failing. And that creates, sort of puts us on this path of not feeling confident in our ability to achieve, health in our life.
I really like that, and it's really important because we have so much pressure on us right now, and we don't want to do that anymore. We want to get rid of that stigma. We want to get rid of, to change that mindset to make it more positive, and I think a lot of gratitude comes into there. It's this whole change, and I like to think of it like, as we were talking about before, is that mindset change. We're not thinking of it as a resolution in just January and then we end it. We're going to think about this as a lifestyle, and we're going to incorporate this every day and just think of it as a new day every day.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that the best way to sort of, if people haven't sort of started on their wellness journey for this year, and like you said, long term, we're looking to integrate habits into your world that you feel like you can live with forever. And that, for me, means, you have to start small. Us saying, if you don't say, let's just pretend you don't currently work out, you're not very active, and you say, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. That might be a bit too much for someone that is really just starting out. Or, I'm really going to just cut sugar out of my life. That can be really extreme too. So we don't need to be so extreme with our goals. We can really just start small and start with the things that you feel confident with. So maybe you just want to increase your water intake, or maybe you just want to get out for a walk every day. Or maybe you just say, I'm just going to eat a few more fruits and vegetables every day. So start small and start to gain your confidence so that you can see, okay, I can do this. I can make these small changes and integrate these small habits into my life. And it's not so overwhelming. I'm not flipping my world upside down. And like you said, we're under so much pressure already between work and all of the stuff going on in the world these days that we want to be able to start small, take baby steps, gain your confidence, and then you can continuously sort of add different habits into your world that ends up getting you to where you want to be with regards to your health.
I love that. And it's funny that you said water.
Mm-hmm.
What I was told, and one of the great tips that somebody introduced me to, is that, you don't have to give up your coffee. Drink a glass of water before, drink your coffee, and then drink a glass of water after. And then you can do that, and it helps hydrate yourself so that you're feeling, you don't feel guilty either, because we can't go cold turkey on things. And a lot of us like to have our coffee in the mornings and even maybe in the afternoon. But if you add your water to it, then it's okay.
Yeah, and this is the thing, everything in moderation. We're not aiming to be perfect here, right? We don't need to be cutting out coffee, or we don't need to be, cutting out, carbs, for example, or being so dramatic with our approach, to making changes to our habits. We just need to, be consistent. When I work with clients, we're just aiming for consistency with all of our habits. So you're right, like drinking, you don't have to give up your coffee, but that doesn't mean that you don't need to, have the water to stay hydrated. We don't need to, give up your favorite type of cookie if you like to indulge in that every once in a while. But we need to, still make sure that we are getting lean proteins and our healthy fats and our nice fibrous carbohydrates. We just want to create some balance. But I want people to focus on levels of consistency, right? Versus this feeling that we have to be perfect with every single habit, every single day. It just becomes too much for us to handle. And that's why I say start small and build from there, and just look for a level of consistency with all sorts of behaviors. And we're not even just talking about food and exercise. We're talking about, trying to get to bed on time, managing our stress really well. Maybe you want to, to manage the stress, maybe you're looking at, integrating some meditation or some journaling or taking on a hobby of some sort. So it's really doing that deep dive into your own self to figure out what is going to work for you personally. Not what works for your friend or your family member or your coworker, because it doesn't mean it's going to work for you, but really figuring out and doing that sort of self-analysis, if you will, on what you think you can manage and where you can make some small changes that are going to really have a big impact.
I like that. And I like how you said that, the journaling part, because I think it's really important to write things down and maybe even to celebrate, the little successes that you have in your life. If you've realized for that whole week that you've made it to bed at a certain time and you're getting up at a certain time, and, maybe you've added water into certain things, like that's a big thing. And then you're like, okay, I got this. It's just little steps, right?
Absolutely. And I love that you brought that out about sort of celebrating the small things, because we are so, as humans, it's amazing. We're so hard on ourselves, and we're so quick to recognize when we have failed at something or where we have sort of fallen short on something, but we don't take the time to celebrate when we have done something well. Give ourselves a pat on the shoulder. And it's all about, and this is what I work on with my clients on too, is sort of that self-dialogue. What are you saying to yourself? What are the conversations you're having with yourself? And if you, to your point, you got to the end of the week where you're like, yeah, you know what, my sleep habits were fantastic this week. I feel great as a result of that. This is something I want to continue. Maybe you're writing it down sort of reinforces that behavior. But being able to say to yourself, good on me. Look at me go. I've got this. that is really, really important. What we're saying to ourselves, that really matters. You're the one that lives in your own brain, 24/7. And we don't want to, wait for somebody else to congratulate us on something or, I will always be super proud of my clients for all the efforts they're putting in. But I always say to them, I don't want you to work towards things because you want me to be proud of you. I want you to be proud of yourself and recognize that the changes that you are making are impacting not only you physically, but you mentally. So recognizing when we've done something and it's working and we can celebrate those successes and be proud of ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. And accountability too. Let's talk a little bit about that because, and I think that's why a lot of people are always looking for somebody to, be with them. And that's what I love about you is that you are really a good person to be accountable with. You're able to help individuals through this entire process.
Absolutely. So, when I meet with my clients, we meet once a week, right? Face-to-face, virtually, right, over a screen, which is fantastic. But I'm also touching base with them between our sessions because, we have to eat every day and we need to sleep every day and we have stress every day. And so all of these things are always, taking place in people's lives. So I always do check-ins to make sure, how are you feeling? How is it, there's a certain thing they were working on. I always question, how are you making out with that? Any challenges you're facing? What were your successes that you're experiencing? And to your point, the accountability, if you don't have a coach like myself to enhance that level of accountability, one thing that I always recommend is, try to create, a support system inside your own world, right? If you're looking to change some of your health habits. So whether it's your spouse or your best friend or your neighbor or a coworker, and just to be able to check in on each other, right? Say, you know what, I know you were setting a goal to try to drink more water or to move your body a little bit more. How are you making out with that? And that's really important to feel like you have support. Again, not that you're doing it for anyone else. You should always be doing it for yourself, but it's nice to feel like someone cares and that you're sort of in it with somebody else. We really need that as human beings, sort of that feeling like we are part of something and invested in something or someone. And it's really fun to be able to have a support system around you for people that really get what you're trying to work towards and can help you along the way.
See, this is great. And one of the things you had talked about in some of our other programs is that you like to include the family also. And sometimes, if you want to get your children involved, your spouse is involved, it's a great thing because they can help you through this journey.
Absolutely. There's no point in sort of being this cohesive family unit, whatever your family looks like, and then you feeling like you're living out on an island, right? Because you're trying to maybe eat healthy or move your body or get to bed at a certain time, and the rest of the family is just sort of, doing their own thing. It is nice to make that part of your family connection. So whether it's cooking together or it is, exercising together, it is really nice to involve the whole family. And the kids actually love it. Like I have kids and they really like to be part of it because they feel like, okay, well, I'm now part of this whole healthy living, piece. They don't always want to cook healthy meals. My kids, I have teenagers and they're like, oh, we're having this again. But then they sit down, they're like, oh, this is delicious. And if they've had a part of that, then they've got a vested interest in it as well. And then you're teaching them along the way. You're setting them up to live a healthier lifestyle when they're older.
Well, and I like that my kids are involved in my journey also because then they were like, are you supposed to be having that? No, you can't have that. And they keep me accountable. They know what I can and can't eat based on, my needs. And right. I just get a kick out of it. It's like, oh, really? Can't you just let me?
Yeah.
No, because you're not going to be feeling good afterwards. So, yeah, it's great when you can actually have those open communications and talk to them and, let them know that what you're wanting to do.
Absolutely. And I think nowadays there's especially with social media out there, right? We know that there's so much pressure for the kids and the teens in the early 20s to, look a certain way. And if we can really sort of hone in at home about the importance of just being healthy. This isn't about what you look like on the outside. This is about you being healthy from the inside out and feeling your best and having the energy to do all the amazing things you want to do in life. And that starts at home, right? Is teaching our kids so that they can gain the confidence so that when they're faced with, things they see on social media or magazine covers or whatever they see at school, that they can stand firm in their own understanding of what good health means.
I love that, because that's something that needs to be talked about a lot more. I think it's overwhelming. You see so much on social media and it's not real. And it's hard to explain that to somebody that thinks that everything that they see out there is obviously the truth, and it's really not.
Absolutely. It's really unfortunate. And that's why, to your point, having those conversations, right, at home and keeping the dialogue open about, what, I'm going to go and work out, or this is why we're having this meal today, or, let's go out and do, a family activity, because I think we've all been under a lot of stress. So we need to blow off some steam and do something fun together. I think that's important, not just the physical health, right, that we need to focus on, but obviously there's a big mental health, sort of challenge out there right now, and for our kids as well. And that it's a big picture, right? We're looking at physical, mental, emotional health. And if you're doing it as a family, then no one feels like they are fighting the battle on their own. You're all doing it together as a cohesive unit.
Excellent. So, Rhonda, do you have any groups, any thing on Facebook or any other social media platforms, or do you hold workshops that maybe our listeners can go and check out?
I sometimes do some master classes, and I've actually been thinking about this a lot recently now that, we're in the new year, and I've been considering some new things about doing some master classes on sort of that inner work that we need to do in order to have good health. This is not about us just simply, following a diet or doing an exercise program or a meditation program and assuming that, magically everything will sort of fix itself. You really have to do the inner work inside of you, the reflection and the real work in order to be successful with anything. Anyone can sort of follow a plan that someone else laid out for them, but it's about that inner work that needs to get done to gain your confidence. So stay tuned on social media. I am on Instagram under Rhonda Armour Coaching and on Facebook, and I will always, put things out there. I'm always, doing regular posts to help, build people's confidence, but I'm also available if people just want to chat, about whether coaching will work for them. But I can also coach not just one-on-one, but to your point, with the family, or maybe you have a group of friends that you want to be able to, sort of do it together as a team, because that's your support system. I'm happy to offer that type of coaching as well. So, follow me on social and keep the lines of communication open, because there's sort of not one specific way to do coaching or to help everybody out there. So it can be custom, whatever is going to work best for you.
This is fantastic, and I really like too that you had said that you're thinking about putting some master classes together and doing it like that. A lot of people are just looking a lot for information too, and if it can get them started on a healthy lifestyle, then that is a perfect thing, because that's what we really want. Is we want to, support the amazing women out there with everything they're doing, because you guys are fantastic. You are the change makers of the world, and you're doing so many great things. So, Rhonda, I want to ask you, is there some tips, is there tools, things that our listeners can take home with them today, to start using until our next show?
Absolutely. So a couple things. First, I want you, if you're looking to make changes to your health, I want you to really consider what your why is. We tend to get caught up in, I want to lose weight. Just because I want to lose weight, I want to look better. But there's got to be something bigger than just that. Whether you want to have more energy to play with your kids or your grandkids, or you want to not have to feel like you want to sleep every day, whatever your reason is, I want you to figure out what your why is, right? It goes back to that inner work that I talked about earlier. And then I want you from there to take baby steps towards better health, right? So let's just take one day at a time and start integrating small things into your world. Maybe it's drinking an extra glass of water a day. Maybe it's an extra serving of vegetables. Maybe it's an extra, walk in your day. Whatever it might mean that has value to you, that is connected to your why, right? And then build from there. And be consistent, right? You don't need to be perfect. We're only human, and perfect is boring and doesn't exist anyway. So let's just go for consistency. with those habits that you're slowly integrating into your life. But when you're deciding what habits are going to go into your life, really recognize what you are sort of ready and willing to do forever. And I know forever can sound like a really long time, but we're looking for long-term sustainable change to anything that we do. And so things that you feel like, okay, I can live with this. This is something I can integrate into my life forever, not just for the next 6 weeks or not just to get to summer. Really think about those small steps and things that you can master and live with forever that are going to allow you to achieve those healthy goals and at the end of the day, achieve your why.
Oh gosh, Rhonda, I love that. I love that you just said baby steps. We're not doing a sprint, we're doing a marathon.
Absolutely.
And we have to take our time. If we try to do it all overnight, it's going to fail.
Absolutely. It totally will. And then you're just disappointing yourself, and it just becomes this vicious cycle that we just go around and around and around in. And I want us to just be nicer to ourselves and practice patience, because these things don't happen overnight. But you're right. One foot in front of the other, baby steps, build the confidence. I know you can all do it. You deserve it. Honor the commitments that you make to yourself. It's not easy. I'm not sitting here pretending that it's easy. I've had my own battles. I still do, so I get it. But let's, have expectations of ourselves, but be realistic about what those expectations are.
Rhonda, this has been an amazing show. Thank you so much for coming back on.
Thank you so much. It's always an honor to be part of the Divas That Care. I love what you do here, so I hope that we've reached lots of amazing women today and they can feel really good about themselves and getting started on their health journey.
Well, I think we have, and thank you so much. I want to ask you before we end today, what are we going to be talking about next month?
So, good question. I think we need to talk about more of the nitty-gritty. We've talked a lot lately about, some of the inner work, like I like to call it, setting ourselves up for success. I think maybe we want to talk about some nutrition pieces and, how people, because I often get that. It's like, I want to eat healthier, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make good meals. I don't know what's supposed to be in my meals. I don't know what a protein is. Maybe we could chat about that, about some of the pieces that go into good nutrition, but simplify it for people, because it can be a really, really difficult concept to grasp because there's so much conflicting information out there. So let's go back to basics in terms of
I
what
love
it
that.
means to have good nutrition. Yeah.
You know what? I think that is perfect because it is so overwhelming. There is so many nutrition books. There's so many types of cookbooks. There's so much everything. Yeah. And you look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, where do I start? And even on certain topics, depending whatever you decide to do with your nutrition, there's even different topics within that. It's just overwhelming. So I love that.
Yeah, let's simplify it for everybody.
Let's simplify it. I'm all about that, and I think that was my biggest thing that I wanted to do for 2022 was just simplify my life. And if we can do it with nutrition, that's game. Like, thank you so much.
Absolutely, love it. Look forward to it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Rhonda, and thank you to all of our listeners that have been with us. February is going to be our 12th year that we've been doing this, and I'm so excited. I'm going to be doing some big announcements about that. So make sure that you check out all of our podcasts, divasthatcare.com, because we have some amazing hosts out there. We have amazing podcasts. We have a lot of recordings from Rhonda on there, too, and I'm going to be posting that on our social media, so you don't want to miss those. I hope that all of you have a fantastic day and that you do something kind. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.